All right, everybody. Leaving a career can be overwhelming, right? It just is. I mean, so many things can be overwhelming, but a lot of us are working on new work adventures, leaving careers, making big changes, right? And that can be overwhelming. And all the decisions and feelings and quite honestly other people's opinions can be a lot. So tonight we're going to be talking about how do you reduce that overwhelm by creating your own perfect exit plan, a plan that will include timelines that are manageable, steps for navigating your current job while you're working on what's next, who to tell and when, and where you can look for support. So, welcome back to Launch Your Business Live, where we make making money online clear, simple, and successful. So you can build wealth and independence and work from home and turn your part time business into a full time income. Now, my name is Marianne Lombardi. I'm the founder and CEO of Marianne Lombardi Coaching. I am an executive turned founder, author, former educator, and the single parent of the coolest teenager on the planet. Now, I have been helping small business owners thrive for over 20 years, and my mission is to do the same for you. So let's jump right in here. And this might seem obvious, but I just want to put it out there. Let's talk about what overwhelm is to begin with. Overwhelm is the feeling and the experience of too much, right? It's like too much to do, too much stress, too many responsibilities, whether that's at work or at home, right? Like overwhelm can lead to feeling stressed out and tired and frustrated and make you snippy and cranky, right? That's what happens when I get overwhelmed. I get cranky. Or it can make you emotional. And when you are overwhelmed, though, you can still imagine how to get things under control, what actions to take to get it done. And you can, up to a certain point, manage that chaos. And that's the thing that distinguishes overwhelm from burnout, right? Because burnout has this opposite effect. It shuts you down. So you can't figure out how to get things under control. You don't want to. You lose interest, are mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted, and it's hard to care. Whereas overwhelm, it is this feeling of too much, but you often are still able to function within that overwhelm. So overwhelm can come from this growing list of to-dos that never seem to stop because we all have them. It can also come from anticipating that growing list of to-dos that never seem to stop. So overwhelm can also come from navigating a big career move or a work change. So, how do we reduce it? How do we reduce that overwhelm? Well, number one step is we got to notice it. Often, when we're deep in the getting the shit done mode, we don't stop long enough to see that we are overwhelmed, that we are stressed until we hit that burnout stage. So it's important to stop and take a moment and say out loud to yourself that hey, I'm overwhelmed. I need to do something about it. Like, let's just stop for a second and recognize I'm overwhelmed. I got to stop. Right. So that's step number one. Step number two is that we have to break the momentum. We can be moving so fast that we get lost in all that we have to do. So breaking the momentum, getting us out of that fast lane is important so we can take a second and breathe. Maybe that's taking a walk. That's what I do when I start to feel that way. I just break that momentum. I clear my head and then I go back and reorganize where I was. So I take a walk. Sometimes I do jumping jacks. Yes, I'm a weirdo. I do jumping jacks. I've done a lot of walking meetings before, get the dog, walk out. It's just getting out of your chair, do something to move your body so that you can break the cycle that's in your mind and your body. So the third step for how we manage this overwhelm is to not judge ourselves for it. Don't judge yourself for being overwhelmed. If I'm on one mission in this life, it is to encourage us all to ditch the judgment, because the judgment is a waste of our time. It is not productive at all, and it's actually destructive. Right? It gets in the way of us doing anything positive, impactful, or helpful. Right? That judgment, it doesn't help you get less overwhelmed. It just makes you feel more shitty. Right? And that sucks. So we got to stop it. You won't get everything done, and that's okay, because it is highly likely you're doing too much. You are not at fault or less than or less worthy because you are struggling to get stuff done. So we got to cut out those kind of words, right? We have to cut out that kind of narrative, that judgment narrative when we are feeling overwhelmed. And the reality is success is not the ability to do everything. It is the ability to know what you want and do that, right? To do what you want, not to do everything, but to do the thing that you want to do. And to say no, to delegate, to ask for help, right? For everything else that you don't want to do. So we got to stop judging ourselves because Lord knows society, culture, ourselves put all these unrealistic expectations on us. So the goal is to step back from those expectations and make sure we are doing what we not doing what we want and not what is just expected of us. So, and the fourth step, which is how we get to what we're talking about a little bit more tonight, is create a plan, right? That's a perfect way for you to remove that overwhelm, to lessen that overwhelm. And in our case, when we are looking to leave one career and get into another work adventure, that kind of plan is an exit plan, right? So, an exit plan includes the steps that you will take to get you from where you are to where you want to be with your career. It takes into consideration the best way to leave your current job, and it sets you up for your next work adventure, and it creates a structure for what can feel like and really be a kind of a chaotic transition. So, for those of you who are contemplating an exit from teaching or whatever profession that you are in, creating an exit plan will help you move that exit from an idea to a reality. It helps you manage any of that overwhelm that comes up in the process, and it's going to help you try out that exit on paper before doing it in real life, right? Like you can plan it out, you can think it out, you can imagine it, you can write it down, and it's like trying it out before you start doing it in real life. And there is a power in that plan because that plan creates order out of chaos. It offers you a hand to hold as you walk through any change. It's a guide that you can refer to so you don't feel like you're managing it all on your own. It's like that bumper bowling, right? You know, you're the ball and you're speeding down the lane, and without those bumpers, right, those guards on the rails, you can fly into someone else's lane. You can ride the gutter, right? But with those guardrails, those bumpers, you know you're going to stay on track and you're going to get to that end of the lane. You know, you're going to actually stay on the lane. And that's good. So, I like the bumper bowl metaphor. We should use that metaphor for many things in our lives, right? Just put the guardrails up so you go down the center lane. So let's be clear, dropping the mic and screaming, fuck it, I'm out, right? That's not an exit plan, right? That might be what you feel like doing. It might be what you want to do, but it's a pretty crappy exit plan. Now, this plan doesn't need to be like 100 pages, right? It's not a dissertation or some, loan package, right? Like it's not this deep, dense thing that you write out. It's simple, but it's thoughtful, right? It's a thoughtful plan of action that's going to lead you to where you want to go, and it's going to hold you accountable, right? It's going to lead you and it's going to hold you accountable. So there are three things that you need to create a good exit plan. Number one, you need intention. You actually need to want to do it and to commit to doing it, to do it with purpose. This intention is going to be driven by your why, right? Like, why are you changing jobs? Why are you making this change now? What do you want that you don't have? How do you want your new work adventure to serve you and serve the life that you want to live differently than teaching, right? Then you're at work in education, then you're working whatever profession, right? It's the what is your why? Number two, you need a goal. You need an outcome, right? You need an outcome that you're trying to get to with the plan. You need to know what you want, where you want to land at the end of that plan. You don't need to know everything exactly, but you do need to know where you're leading to. If that is working on your business full time or a new remote job that provides you more flexibility that you need to care for your family, what is that end point that you're trying to get to with that plan? And next, you need to figure out what the action steps are in between, because nothing happens without action. And more specifically, your commitment to action. Your plan will map out the deliberate action steps that you're going to take to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And these steps are going to take into account what you can and cannot control. It's going to include due dates. It's going to hold you accountable to your progress to that goal. And creating this action plan gets your idea of leaving your job to improve your life and your family's life out of the theoretical, and it makes it real. It gets it out of our mind, out of our body, and into the world. And creating your plan has benefits because it not only gets it out of your mind and into the world, it alleviates pressure. It's like that iconic teapot metaphor, right? The more the fears, the ideas, the desire, the change just stay inside, just stay ideas, they stay in our mind, the more the pressure grows and grows. If we don't do something about it, we're just going to scream. So your exit plan starts to take that pressure off and it puts it out into the world for you. It also makes it manageable. Change is much more manageable when we have a plan. Because without a plan, our anticipation that we talked about before, it runs wild. We anticipate what's going to happen. We think about the conversations we're going to have and the discomfort that's going to come from it. We anticipate, what should I do? What should I not do? Maybe I'm going to do the wrong thing. Maybe I'm going to do the right thing. I don't know. Right? Like we get all stressed and guess what? We get overwhelmed. Yeah. So again, creating the plan is there to alleviate that overwhelm. And thirdly, it organizes our action because again, change, I'm a little repetitive here, but I got to just keep putting it out there. Change is impossible without action. The plan is going to give you the steps to take in small manageable actions, and it directs you to take one step at a time. And through those steps, your life changes because a dream is going to stay a dream without action. Better work-life balance is going to stay shitty work-life balance without action. More flexibility to be there for your family stays dissatisfaction about how little time you have to be there for your family without action, right? So action is the key. So here I wanted to give you a couple of steps in one of my clients' action plans, right? So when we started working together, and she started filling out creating this action plan. It started in February of 2023, which was let me go back. Her goal in this action plan is to quit her job and to focus on her business full time. That's the goal. She is currently a teacher. And so she starts with in February, this is what she started with in 2023. She quit all of her extra unpaid school responsibilities. Those were committees, after school planning activities, like team leads, all that kind of stuff. She quit all those things, which was liberating. But that was the first thing on her action plan. In March, she renewed her contract for one more year. She didn't really want to be teaching for one more year, but this is her exit plan. But after quitting all of that extra stuff and knowing it was going to be her last year, she wasn't as stressed about renewing. And it has not been as stressful still. In April, so last month, she talked to her husband and the kids about some redistribution of home care responsibilities, like cleaning and cooking and that kind of stuff for the summer and the new school year. And she was super stressed about this conversation because she never had this kind of talk with her husband. But this is an example of where the anticipation was worse than the reality because she did this and, her husband was really cool. And so they figured out a plan for the summer and they've got the kids involved and it's still work in progress, but they're working it out because she wanted to build more time in. So this was an important conversation to have. So stuff that's coming up May, June 23, she is going to soft launch this side business of hers, right? So that's what we're working on now. It's getting ready for this soft launch in May and June. And so through the summer and through the early fall, she's going to be working on that. And she's got some steps in there, but we're going to jump over those steps. By November of 23, this one is my favorite, is that she's going to hire somebody to clean her house with money that she's made off of her side business. And she was adamant about this being the first purchase that she does with the money that she's making off of her side business. Before anything else, she's going to hire somebody to clean which I think is awesome. I think it's a rock star, but it was like an iconic moment in her exit plan because it's really important to her. Now, by February, March of 24, she is declining her new school year contract. By spring of 24, she is looking for a low stress, low responsibility part time job if that's necessary. She thinks it'd be fun to work at a bookstore, right? So if she hasn't met her nut with her side business, which she thinks she will, but if she hasn't, she's going to look for this part time thing at a bookstore. By fall of 24, she's going to quit her part time job and focus on her side business full time. So, this is an example of how she has worked through her exit plan that gets her to her exit, which is quitting all other jobs full time, part time, and working on her business full time. So, just as a recap, today we've talked about how do we reduce overwhelm by one, noticing it, two, stopping the momentum of it, stopping judging ourselves for it, and then for creating an exit plan. We also talked about the benefits of creating an exit plan, which is about alleviating the pressure, making it more manageable, that exit with a plan, and organizing your action because change is impossible without what? Action. So, if you need help creating an exit plan, what are you going to do? You're going to DM me, right? You're going to DM me. You're going to say, Marianne, I need help creating an exit plan. So, can you give me some guidance? That's what you're going to do, right? Right. Okay, good. So, thank you. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Bye.